Hi, welcome to the Two Piece Podcast, where two very different people compare and contrast their top fives on a variety of topics. I'm Steph, and this week, Alex and I are going to talk about our top 5 favorite things to do at the mall. So we are going to dive into the interesting backstory of the man who invented the mall, and we have a lot of laughs. Alex may or may not have made fun of my Nana because he forgot that she has diabetes. So keep listening to find out more. Here we go. Hi, welcome to the Two Piece Podcast.
Hey.
I'm Steph.
I said hey too quick.
Yeah, you did.
Well, my name's Alex.
It wasn't your turn. I'm still
sorry.
talking.
Well, it's that thing. I don't know if we ever talked about it on the show or not, but there's that thing where you'll say something and it sounds like it's going to be a break.
I'm breathing.
Then you're a slow breather.
I'm thinking what I'm saying and I'm breathing. I'm talking calmly and evenly and not like this really fast.
I think the issue is that. The issue is that you're not a slow talker, but you do talk more slow than me. And I'm a fast talker / interrupter. So anytime you're taking a breath, if I feel like I've got a chance to hop in there, I'm going to get in there.
You do.
So,
but you know when you talk slowly, I think it helps. It makes things more clear. And I think it makes people feel more calm.
I'm not saying what I'm doing is right. I'm just saying I do it the way that I do it.
Okay. Well, back to the topic here. We are talking today about our top 5 favorite things to do at the mall. Mm-hmm. Our good friend Hayden suggested this topic.
Yes, he did.
He did. So thank you for that, because this was a fun one to put together. And speaking of that, you can let us know your top 5s on this topic, as well as suggest any new topics to us, please, at the Two Piece Pod.
We give you a shout out, like we just did for our good friend Hayden.
We do.
Yeah,
we do.
At the Two Piece Podcast, Instagram and Twitter, and we recently got a Facebook. So make sure you follow us there as well.
Yeah.
Check out all that we're doing.
Yeah. So do you have any interesting stories at the mall or funny things to share at the mall? The thing that came to mind when you brought this topic up to me was in The Last of Us, when that episode where they were in the mall. That's what I thought of.
Oh, is that going to be your little anecdote to bring up today?
I mean, I just that it's what it made me think of, but
great show. The whole season is now out on HBO Max. Not a sponsor, but if you're a fan of the game The Last of Us, you have to watch that show. It's really good. Even if you're not, I'd say it's a thrill. It's a thrilling experience, but not overly thrilling though. Not as thrilling as the game. But anyway, yeah, there is a whole episode that takes place in the mall.
And that's what it made me think of. So
like an old, it's post-apocalyptic, so it's old. But
did you go hang out at the mall like as a teenager? Like, is that where you hung out, or is that just like girls?
No, we hung out at the mall. Now the thing is though, is that maybe not all the time, because I lived in a small town that didn't have a mall. So then the closest mall was about 35, 40 minutes away. So it was more of a treat when we'd go to the mall. So really when we went, honestly, hanging out was kind of the secondary thing. It was really, listen, we got to go to the mall to get some clothes or whatever.
You want to hang out and go too.
And right. Now, as years went on and I moved to that town that was bigger, that had the mall, I went there more often. Because it was a good place to meet up and hey, let's go get some food or whatever. Well, I got food poisoning there. My first ever food poisoning was at the mall.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Some Japanese food, and it tore me up. Because, mall Japanese food isn't Japanese food. I don't know what it is. It's probably the garbage that's in the back, but it is not fried up with some rice. You know what I mean?
Why'd you say that Southern?
I don't know why I went Southern there. It's funny because we're talking about
go at
like
all.
Asian food. I don't even fried up some rice. Come on down to Tennessee. We got rice.
I don't know what your problem is.
I have lots of problems. So I don't have a particular story.
Okay.
But I guess that could count as our little anecdote at the beginning.
I think it can.
So another thing that I do want to say, since we're at the top of the hour here, is that I've got some interesting information to share about the man who basically pioneered the design of malls in America as we know it. And he's actually got kind of I wrote down here, the tragic irony of his success.
Oh.
So stay tuned for that. So we'll be learning a little bit of something too here.
I'm excited because I don't know. I don't know this information.
Yeah, so this would be fun. Learn a little bit of something. Talk about malls.
You're really southern. Learn a little something.
I mean, I've always said that's not because of you or anything.
Well, I'm not saying it's because of me. I'm just saying you're kind of southern tonight.
I don't know why. I'm just feeling southern. I do live in Tennessee, so
you're getting more and more southern.
No, don't ever say that again. No, I'm just kidding. There are certain words. I've always said. I just learned that I said weird. I say weird.
Yeah, word.
I say word. That's weird. Yeah, that's it. That's weird. It's like, where'd that come from?
I don't know.
I'll say crick.
Yeah, that's word.
Yeah, that's weird.
You say crick.
Well, anyway, let's get into this. Let's talk malls.
Uh-huh.
Who goes first?
You always
Me.
ask this question. You.
Oh, well, I'll ask it every time.
Well, maybe next time you can't.
Great. All right, let's get going. So, you know me, I got to have my disclaimers at the beginning. You probably have more mall memories, at least. I know you don't go to the mall every day now. Most of us don't anymore.
I don't know. I might not.
I guess we'll see. For me, I kind of had to really think. It was hard for me to come up with the top 5 favorite things to do at the mall.
It was pretty hard for me, too.
Or to have done at the mall, because I don't go to the mall as much anymore for various reasons. But so anyway, don't put a lot of weight in my list, is what I'm trying to say.
You made your list and you have to stick with it.
I know. I'm just saying don't put a lot of weight in it.
You can't. Everything weighs the same as it usually weighs.
What, 60 pounds? How are we weighing this?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. That's a good number.
All right. We'll stick with 60. So my number 5 favorite thing to do at the mall is I have it slashed because I really only go to the mall for one reason, or I used to, and it was to shop, but specifically go to JCPenney.
That's where you still go.
No, I rarely shop, but when I do, I guess it is JCPenney.
When you need new pants or shirts.
So until I moved to Memphis, I didn't realize that JCPenney's could be standalone. I only knew them as anchors and malls. So that's kind of cool. Now, at least back home, the only JCPenney we had or JCPenney's we had were in malls. So I never saw them as standalone stores. So that was kind of cool since I moved here. But that being said, I would always go to the mall. Usually for that, I would go into the JCPenney anchor, do my shopping, and leave. That's why it's my number 5, because it's not fun, but it is where I have done and still kind of do a lot of my shopping up until recently.
Mm-hmm.
I started doing some online stuff, but yeah, nothing really big to say there. When I think of like the big clothing store, I don't think of a Macy's. I don't think of Kohl's. I think of JCPenney.
So your number 5 thing to do is shop at JCPenney.
Yeah. That's my number 5.
Okay.
Escalators are fun.
I thought that would be higher, honestly.
Oh, no. Because I don't like shopping.
Well, no, but what else do you do at a mall, though? Like you. Not much.
I think
you get in, get out.
I think you'd be surprised. I'm pulling from times when I would go to the mall for more.
Okay.
These are from different eras of my life.
Well, I have a lot to learn then.
I guess so. But anyway, yeah, that's really all I have. I would do some other occasional shopping at the mall. Obviously, like they had a GameStop in there, so I'd go look at the games. I always loved going to this one called Earthbound.
Oh, yeah.
They used to have them, and it was basically, I figured it'd be a store that at one point or another you would have liked. Yeah. It's got a lot of kind of hippy-dippy stuff. It's got rain sticks. It's got the glowing rock stuff.
The salt lamp?
The Himalayan salt lamp thing.
Yeah.
I loved the rain sticks. I'd always go there. But they have and all that cool stuff. So it was just fun to go through.
We've never had one of those here, but when Mom and I would drive to meet my Nana halfway, and we would always go to like Bowling Green, the mall there, and they have one.
Bowling Green's a nice little town.
Yeah, they have a nice mall.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. But there's other places like it too that you might have had at one point. But yeah, I like those kinds of places. So yeah, that's it. And then every once in a while, since this is kind of under the shopping category, I'll say it. When we were like teenagers, we always thought it was funny to go into like Spencer's because they had, hee ha ha kind of inappropriate stuff. So we always thought that was funny too.
Have you ever stolen anything?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of.
I don't think I've ever stolen anything.
Huh.
Why have you?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Why are you turning red?
I'm not turning
Have
red.
you stolen something?
No,
Steph?
I haven't stolen anything. I just think I was trying to make it sound like I
Other
had.
than my heart.
Ha 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 ha.
All right, that's my number 5.
Oh my gosh.
What about
No.
yours?
I could never steal anything. I'd be so guilty.
Yeah.
I'd be like obsessing over it. Oh my gosh, I should take it back. Should I tell somebody?
Yeah, here's the difference between us, though. And once again, this is part of the whole 2 different people thing. I think you could be pushed to steal if something pushed you enough.
No.
No, listen, let me explain. I'm
No,
not saying.
I couldn't.
No, listen. You're
I
not.
don't give in to peer pressure that easily.
Let me talk.
You let me talk.
No.
You just offended me.
What I'm saying is, if you got angry enough and the only way to get back at doing something was to steal, you would do it. Yes.
No. No, I wouldn't steal.
I'm just trying to make a point.
Well,
At sometimes
point's wrong.
Very rarely, but sometimes you can get very angry about something. Oh God, okay. I need to shut up. Never mind. I'm just saying. Okay.
I'm not going to steal.
You would never
anything.
steal. Okay, forget what I'm saying.
Anything. Okay, all right,
Whatever.
all right. My number.
This is a fun pod. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is specific to the mall that's here. It's the one, and I showed you these when we went there, like the one time we ever went there together, because now it's kind of sketchy. But when I was little at this mall, they had I don't know if it was like a little class, but my mom took me and my sister and then my 2 cousins, and we painted these like tiles, and then they put them up on a wall and like tiled the wall. So like there's like glaze over them and everything. And so anyway, it's still there. So that's one of my favorite.
We took a picture with it.
Yeah, we did. So that's one of my favorite things to do. Like every time I go into the mall, I like to go look for it and find it.
It's cool to see in that like little piece of history, like you're a part of that building, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's also, I would be checking it every time just to make sure, like, is it still there?
Yeah, well, like I haven't been there in several years, so like I don't know if it's still there or if they've. I mean,
2020
I don't
was
know.
the last time we went.
Yeah, I don't know why they would have taken it down, but
Well, I mean, just things are remodeled and stuff. That reminds me. This isn't a mall related thing, but the seniors at our school. I think it was the first year our school did it. There was like this back staircase or this back like. Not a stairwell. It's like a room that just holds a bunch of stairs that you go down to get to the bottom floor, but like it's brick everywhere. And each senior in the band, because it was next to the band room, connected to it, got a little brick that they could paint their little thing on
aw,
for graduating seniors. So I'm wondering if that's still there, or eventually they're going to get through so many seniors that they might have to paint over them. I don't know what they're going to do.
I don't know what they'll do either.
Anyway, but I like that too. I'd love to see that again sometime.
Yeah, so that's my number 5.
Well, we took a picture next to that. Maybe if we remember, we can post that picture somewhere.
Yeah,
It was.
look back.
It's awkward Alex and Steph days because I just realized this wasn't 2020. This was 2019 when we did it.
Yeah, I think it was in
the fall.
November or something.
Yeah, and probably November. That sounds right. So like we were still, pretty early on dating. So I wonder how awkward we looked.
I don't think we looked that awkward.
We were both like smiling, going, "Hey!" like with our thumbs like sticking out at the picture.
I still would do it now.
I mean, I would too, but I think that would look different. I just think it would look different because we were still nervous.
Maybe.
I remember being nervous at least.
Well,
all right. You ready for my number 4?
yeah.
My number 4 is specific to the mall that I grew up going to.
Okay.
And maybe you just had to be there to understand, but anybody who's from where I'm from will know. My number 4 is riding the merry-go-round. So I don't know if the mall you had or other ones had merry-go-rounds at one point or another.
Yeah.
Okay. Does the one?
Yes, that's right by the tiles.
It's a huge mall. So
it's
like
right by the tiles, like literally right there.
Okay, I guess I don't really remember that.
Well, that's a shame.
Well, anyway, there was a big part of our mall. It was the entrance to the mall. So you'd enter the mall.
Yeah.
And it was right there, and then it was right next to the food
That's
court.
how it is at this mall here.
I just because I don't remember it, but I probably made a comment about it when we saw it. But that being said, it's just a merry-go-round. But I'd be even older and still going on that thing because it was just kind of something you did. There's not much to do. Like our mall, it's a nice mall, at least at the time. but it is kind of smaller, so there's not a whole lot going on. But I just always loved it. I have a lot of memories. I rode the thing as a kid, as an adult, and it's still the same old merry-go-round that it's always been. So I like seeing that history. So I have a lot of memories of, kind of being in the food court and riding that merry-go-round. Don't have much else to say. I don't have any
Did you get dizzy ever?
No, I don't think so. I don't really have a problem with getting dizzy.
Did you have a favorite horse? Or a favorite animal on the...
Yeah, there's a bunch of animals on it.
Yeah, do you have a favorite? Did you like the ones that went up and down, or were you sort of scared and you sat on the ones that were still?
Take a guess.
You sat on the still ones.
Heck yeah, I did.
Yeah.
What's funny, because these days I would totally do that, because I love fun rides now.
I sat on the ones that went the highest.
Ugh, of course you did. So I can reach the heavens.
I don't know what kind of voice that was.
That's what little Stephanie used to say. I want to fly high. You did actually.
Yeah, that actually was a dream of mine
she
to fly.
She wanted to have flying shoes.
Well, no, my dream was to fly. I didn't want to have shoes that flew.
But the flying shoes were the compromise. That was the compromise.
Yes.
The shoes can get me to fly practically.
Yes, because logically I knew I could never fly.
Right.
Without something to help me, and what better to help you than shoes?
Exactly.
That flew.
And on our first Christmas, I had our dear friend Gela. Check out GelaRediger.com. She's an incredible artist. She drew flying shoes.
She did.
Like these cute little girl flying shoes.
Yeah, they're framed in my room.
Yep.
I love it so much.
Man, I was good.
Yeah, you were.
Were?
Well, you said I was good, but you were.
Tense. I was past tense too. I know.
Okay.
Well, I know we're just kind of slamming through these, but we got some stuff to talk about with this guy who basically
invented
the mall.
But the things, there's not overly too much info, I think, to give about doing things at the mall. So
it's
a pretty quick thing.
It is, and that's why I thought. I mean, I like the idea because it's such a unique topic.
There's not a lot of things to dissect and discuss about it. It just is what it is.
I was going to say, there's a lot of things to do if you really think about it. That's why we both have lists of 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, to dissect about it, that's kind of a different story.
It is what it is. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is, I think, pretty basic, but my number 4 favorite thing to do at the mall would be just to kind of walk around with friends and window shop and go in stores and you're not going to buy anything, but go in there and look around and look at stuff and
it's the experience.
Yeah, it's just, and then you just talk and hang out and walk around and be like, ooh, that'd be cool if I could afford that huge bean bag.
Is that we go into a specific story there?
Yeah, well, that there's a place called Love Sack and they had those huge ginormous
Love Sack?
Yeah, well, that's what it was called.
Sorry, okay.
That's what it was called, right?
Love Sack sounds
No, it was
terrible.
A store. It was a store. I'm going to Google it.
Is it a store for the family or is it a store for mom and dad?
No, they had bean bags. Hold on.
Love Sack, baby.
Love Sack. Memorial Day event. It's right there. Right there.
Remember that song, Love Sack?
Yeah. Okay, it's a real place.
Okay.
But they had furniture and stuff, but they had huge bean bags that were $600 or something. And I
Jeez Louise.
dreamt of having one. I eventually got one, but
I thought you couldn't afford it, huh?
Well, I got it as a Christmas gift, I think, or a birthday gift or something.
It's a nice Christmas gift.
I know it was.
Wow.
But also, I may have
get anything you want, don't you?
I may have paid some of my own money too. I don't remember, but
so it was way later.
I waited 2 or 3 years. I wanted one for several years.
How old were you at this time? Teenager, I guess?
No, probably in maybe a young teenager or somewhere between 11 and 13 maybe.
Okay. Just curious.
Range, but that's my number 4 thing, just to kind of walk around with friends and hang out and talk and window shop.
Those are some of the best memories.
Yeah.
Just walking around, chatting, cracking jokes with your friends, and going into places, just hanging out. Because what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a bad way. Just what else are you going to do, right?
When you're that age, there's you don't necessarily have money to just blow.
Right.
So.
And malls are a great place to just go hang out and just chill.
Yeah.
So now let's talk a little bit about a little man. I don't know if he's a little man, but by a man named...
I mean, don't, diminish him.
I'm not diminishing him. Victor Gruen is the name of the guy who pioneered the design of shopping malls. So we all have been in a mall, but you don't really think about, at one point somebody had to come up with this concept, right? So as I said at the top of the podcast, he's actually got, obviously he was successful in what he did. Malls got very popular, especially in the, late 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's kind of, their popularity it's decreased since then. However, clearly successful, but there's a interesting irony in his story. And I was looking up information about Victor Gruen, and I thought this is the angle I kind of wanted to share, is kind of his trajectory in this and how it's kind of ironic at the end. Kind of the irony of his success.
You love that phrase.
I'm just saying, I think it's, why I love it? Because it's the most effective way to say it. I mean, that's just the truth. So, I guess first thing, Victor Gruen, he was born in Austria. He studied architecture at the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts.
Oh, wow.
So he's a very fancy-dancy person.
Fancy.
And he's from Vienna. So
okay.
he's got the European architectural background. Now, he ended up moving to the U.S. in his 30s. And he eventually, obviously, he wasn't originally doing architecture. I don't have this in front of me. By the way, this information was a mixture of, I think I have it written down, ideas.ted.com, as well as Wikipedia. It's a mixture of those two sources, my information here. So anyway, he moved here in his 30s. Now, he was born, I don't remember the exact year, but it was the early 1900s. So this is a long time ago. So it was the 40s or so when he moved to the U.S. and he moved to California. And eventually, not too long after that, he was in the business of architectural design.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up designing the first enclosed mall, which is in Minnesota, called the Southdale Mall.
Oh.
So very historical because it was the first mall.
Do you know what year that was?
I don't have 1956.
So the 50s.
Yes. Now, I'm reading my notes here. So he had this envisionment in his head. He really was pulling from his inspiration. Basically, came from what he knew, which was European marketplaces, right? And it ended up paying off. So basically what was in, what did that mean, right? So sculptures, children's carnivals, cafes, eucalyptus, magnolia trees, bird cages, and dozens of other diversions, if you will, all in this shopping center. So he had this idea to make it just this all-encompassing pedestrian place to go where you can see all of these things and also shop. But it was kind of like a multi-purpose thing. I always thought from the get-go that malls were designed to just be places where you go shop, period. That was always what I thought malls were. You know what I mean? If you were to guess, I think most people would guess, it was a way to get more people to go to one place and buy stuff.
Yeah.
But his vision was always to make it a very all-encompassing, this kind of pedestrian meetup place. Where you can see and do all of these things, which is a very European marketplace style. And he brought that to the U.S. So it was a huge hit, the first mall in Minnesota. By the way, if you're curious, it was enclosed. The only reason why that was, because European markets usually aren't enclosed. The reason why it was enclosed was because in Minnesota and really cold winters, and they didn't want to discourage people from going out when it's cold outside. So that's why it ended up paying off, clearly. So it was a huge hit. This is in 1956. Most commentators and reviewers, or reviews at the time, focused on the vast courtyard space, which Gruen had dubbed the Garden Court of Perpetual Spring.
Oh.
Very artsy guy. You could just tell by the way he talks and stuff. But then it goes on to talk about what I already said, the sculptures, carnivals, cafes, eucalyptus and magnolia trees, bird cages, and so on and so forth. Now, he ended up being very successful in this design approach because malls obviously took off, right? So in the next 20 years of his career, basically, he designed over 50 malls across America.
Wow.
Which, when you think about it, is a lot because he's designing these things.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to pause there. I thought that'd be a good place to do our first half. Just kind of have a general idea of kind of what he was doing, where he was at, what his thinking process was a little bit. But isn't that interesting? I always thought the purpose of the mall to begin with was exclusively just to get people in there to buy things, make it easier for more small businesses to come together and people to go and buy stuff.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
was
it's
not,
like everything in one place.
But it's not. That wasn't necessarily the Gruen's intent with this design. However, we'll leave it at a cliffhanger. He's just a designer. He's not the builder.
Huh.
There's more people at play. We'll go back to that.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying it's fun to learn. So there you learn a little bit there. So yeah, he's designed over 50 malls up until the late 70s.
Okay.
So and then after that, malls were getting huge in the 80s and 90s. So
yeah.
But that's because of a lot of it's because of the influence that he left.
Yeah.
So he brought kind of this European shopping center style over to the U.S. So kind of cool.
That is really cool.
All right, let's get back at this thing. Is it me or you, though? It's you. Or is it me? It's probably
my
me.
gosh,
I don't know
it's
why.
you.
Who cares?
You're number 3.
Okay. My number 3 kind of works out because we just mentioned, actually, I guess we said courtyard. But you hear that courtyard?
Yeah.
My number 3 is eat at the food court, of course.
And they get food poisoning.
And get food poisoning. No, I loved the food court. In college, I worked out of a mall. I worked at a mall. And my wallet wasn't happy because I'd spend $10 a day, 5 days a week. That's $50 a week,
Yeah.
$200 a month. How much money is that in a year? $2,400 a year, right? It's a lot of money. That adds up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did love the food though. So in our mall, growing up, we always had the staples. We had like the pizza place, what's it called? Sbarro, the pizza mall place. It's got the Italy colors. Sbarro?
I don't know.
It's I don't know. Anyway, there's that. There's like a Chinese place. There's a Japanese place. Then there were some places that would like change it and out. There was the pretzel place, like Annie Ann's.
Yeah.
Right. That's always really yummy. I almost wanted to get that when we were at the airport last, by the way, because I saw it at the airport. It's like, oh, I used to eat that stuff. But then there's also a place. It's gone now, so I don't mind even saying it by name. It was called Buca di Beppo. I think is how you said it. Buca di Beppo, except I'm saying it very American, but it was an Italian place.
Uh-huh.
Not like high-end Italian. I'd say it is mid-range. It wasn't cheap, but also their portions were huge. But it was so good. I would get like this. I can't remember what kind of. I would get all kinds of dishes there, but it was just really good. Good spicy Italian food. And I don't know, I associate this in particular, the food court stuff, with what you were saying with friends. So I spent a lot of time, before the friends and I would go walk around the mall, we'd all meet at the food court, hang out and talk first.
Oh.
We'd plan our attack, right? We would eat our food, we'd go, okay, let's go here, and then we'll go across town and go here. So like for me, there's a lot of memories tied to that.
Yeah.
And that's really it. Food court. Just so many memories, eating there alone when I worked, eating there with family, eating there with friends, and planning what you're going to do.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I always thought it was cool that in the food court, it was like there were so many different options.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I always thought that was cool.
Well, it's almost overwhelming. That's why it's really great when you can just go get the samples, because they always got the samples, the little chicken on a little toothpick or whatever.
Yeah.
I just remembered, you would have loved me then. I had a smoothie obsession during this time. And there was a place, I think it was called Q Smoothie is what it was called.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Are you familiar with Q Smoothie?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It sounds familiar.
I mean, they're all kind of the same.
We might have had that.
But I would get there, and you could choose any 2 combinations you wanted. So, like, I would always experiment. I go, okay, this time I want to do banana raspberry. Let's see what this tastes like, right? I love the blueberry banana. Oh, my Lord, it was good. So good. So I'd always get that before I'd go back to my day job. It was so good.
Yeah, that would have been fun to try.
And right across from the food court, Logan, if you're listening, hello. Good friend of mine. He worked at this place called, I can't remember what it's called. What's it called? Like DG Games or something? He'll know. So I'm sorry, Logan, but it was like a game store. Like not like a video game store, but like a board game store. So sometimes on my break, when I'd be at the food court eating my food, I'd be done. I had some extra time. I'd go into the store, like the little board game store, and talk to him or like look at the games and stuff. It was just fun. A lot of memories.
Aw.
That's all I got.
That's nice.
Doctors. I think it's called Doctor something. It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Okay, well, maybe he can leave a comment.
He can leave a comment.
Say what it was called.
Because it doesn't exist anymore, but.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, it was fun. What is your number 3?
My number 3 is specific to when we would meet Nana at the Bowling Green Mall.
Can you say that again? You're getting a little too quiet there.
Oh, sorry.
This the Bowling Green what?
Mall.
Okay.
Yeah. I was looking down, I guess, as I was talking. The mic didn't pick me up. And yeah, so we would meet there because that's halfway between where we live and where she lives. And really, I think the specific memory, there's 2 places that I like to go. We would go to at that mall, there's an Ulta, and we would go in there, and she would always want to buy a lipstick or buy us something, and then there's a Hallmark store there that she would always love to go in. So we'd walk down every aisle in there and look at everything. So, I mean, that's a pretty brief number 3, but I just really enjoyed doing that. When we would meet her halfway, those were the stores we would go to like every single time. A lot of it we would do some shopping around and, but then a lot of talking and catching up and stuff too.
Well, speaking of food courts, was there a particular place you'd always go every time there?
To eat? No, because usually we'd eat before. We'd go somewhere else to eat.
If you go to the mall, you got to have the mall food.
She has diabetes. No.
Sorry. She's got diabetes. You just can't, Alex.
No. She has enough mall food at her mall.
She eats mall food for dinner, meaning like the equivalent of that food. She'll eat that for dinner.
Sometimes she actually does eat that for dinner, though. She's at the mall.
I believe it.
So.
Panda's at the mall sometimes. I like Panda.
Well, she likes this at her mall. She likes this little sushi place, and she gets the California roll, and they know her personally. Like they know her.
Of course they do.
So,
mall's a great place to socialize.
Yeah. So there you go.
As it was intended, apparently. Right?
Yeah.
It was intended to be a social place.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. All right. My number 2 is probably one, if you think about what a lot of malls used to have, I bet this wouldn't be very surprising to you.
So, used to have?
Mm-hmm. Well, some malls still do. I'm just saying they're not as popular as they used to be. My number 2 favorite thing to do at the mall was to visit the arcade. So a lot of malls used to have arcades.
Oh, yeah.
And I love arcades. Now, these weren't like, I'm saying this to you specifically. I think anyone who's been to a mall arcade knows what kind of arcade. It's not like old vintage stuff, right? It's not like pinball machines and old games. It's not like that. It was usually newer stuff. And a lot of like the claw grabbing machines. We don't grab the claw, but the claw like would to get like an item or like to get like
the claw machine. It's called a claw machine.
No grabbing. That implied that you're grabbing the claw when I said claw grabbing machine.
Yeah, it did.
So, but the claw machines and the other ones too were like there's these really expensive items in there, and then there's this little you got to get this the little tool right in the hole, the right exact angle to pull it off the hook. It's never gonna happen, right? Just ways to sink your money. I loved those things at the time, and then I loved there was a couple like gun ones where you'd go in there and you close the doors and you're like shooting dinosaurs or whatever, right? You know what I'm talking about. That was so much fun, and that's just because of my love of games.
Yeah.
Specifically, this is where I can kind of go off on a slight tangent, is one of my favorite video game genres in general are arcade racers. Now, what I mean by arcade racers is that it doesn't mean they have to be in arcades. It just means they're not simulation racers. Arcade racers are just racers that you can sit down, play it on your console at home, and it's super easy to control. Explaining this to you again, Steph. There's some racing games out there that are they're simulation racers. So like they're a lot more accurate to how they feel, so they're not as fun to move around. Not a big fan of those, but I'm a fan of arcade racers. And there's this one particular one in the arcade. I remember the one being in the mall. I don't know which mall, but I remember being in a mall, and it was called Cruisin'.
Okay.
And I would go there with my dad, and I'd play it. Now, Cruisin' is like my favorite racing series of all time. Love it. Or at least it's up there if it's not my favorite.
But was that the same thing? Like,
it also came out on N64, so I had it on an N64 too.
So it was the same game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same game, just brought to a console. And such a good game. And that's where my love of racing games started. And I still play racing games, actually. I have quite a few on my computer and on Switch as well. If anyone wants a good racing game and you like the Top Gear series, which is another series of mine that I love. Old school. I'm going back old school now. This is the new game. It's called Horizon Chase Turbo. Highly recommend it. It's really good. Just saying. And there's a new cruising game now on the Switch, which I have not gotten, but I want to get.
I was going to ask you. I was like, have you gotten it then?
I think it's called Cruisin' Blast, I think is what it's called. So the cool thing about the cruising games is that I played all of these at one point. They're just wacky, fun racing games. There's Cruisin' USA, there's Cruisin' the World, there's Cruisin' Exotica.
Oh.
There's all kinds. And it was fun because you would be driving, right, in this arcade, and then like if you double tapped the gas pedal, you would do a wheelie. And then, so I would always do that, and you would speed up. And then if you do it as you're approaching a car, you'll fly over the car and jump over them. So it's super wacky, right? But it was so much fun.
That seems cool. I've always been bad at arcade games.
It's so good. Well, we got to play Cruisin' since I have it.
Okay, we can play.
Fun game. It's different when you're just using a controller versus...
Yeah, I've
the
never
steering wheel.
been good at the games that you sit in that chair and use the steering wheel. I've always like hit everything.
I win every time.
I'm so bad. It's so sensitive. Like you barely turn it and then it's like slightly delayed. So you turn it and then it doesn't turn. So then you turn it more and then your car goes vroom and hits the other side of the, you know?
Ah, Steph, so much to learn. No, they are tough. They are tough.
Yeah, I've never been good at those.
Do you like the ones where you're like not snowboarding, like you're on a snowmobile?
Do you want me to be honest with you?
Or a motorcycle?
I always felt like those were so germy.
Yeah, they're kind of nasty. Because I was recently at a 1-year-old's birthday party.
Yeah.
And I went up to one of those things, and I was going to sit down and race my friend that I went with. And yeah, yeah. Actually, you know what? I lied. I was about to say we didn't do it. I did still sit on it.
You just thought about it first.
But I felt gross. I was wearing jeans. It didn't get on my bare legs.
I just feel like when you ride those, you're like almost like laying on it, and it's just like more contact, and it just feels gross. Like I don't know how many people's bodies have been on that. Blech.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this, and hopefully it's okay. But I know that I opened your eyes to something recently that's germy that you never thought about before.
What?
So we won't go into details, but Steph, along many Americans, or probably anywhere, not just Americans, will take her phone into the bathroom with her sometimes. Okay. And I can't remember what the conversation was about. I don't know why that even was a thing. But I said, something like, you're taking your phone in there? She's like, yeah. And I said, do you realize how many gross poop particles are in the air while you're using your phone in the bathroom?
Yeah, you're one to talk, though.
And then, well, yeah, but I'm not as concerned about it. And then you went, great, you just ruined that for me. So, or something like, I'm gonna think about that every time now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just everything's
How often
disturbing.
do you sanitize your phone?
Sanitize my phone?
Yeah.
No. By sanitize, what I really do is I've got like, I have like a lens cleaner that I'll put all over it.
Well, that doesn't kill any germs.
No, it's not like a lens cleaner. It looks like a lens cleaner. It's got like stuff in it.
Like alcohol?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How often do you wipe it off, though?
Not enough.
I wipe mine off every day.
I know you do. I think we all know you do. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Maybe I'll start. I know, and I wipe yours off too when it's sitting next to mine. I'll wipe yours and you don't know it, but I do. So you have a clean phone. Do you notice that the screen's a little cleaner sometimes?
No, I never notice because I don't care. But if you want to clean it, go ahead. I'm not against it. That's fine. They got those like sanitation like little beds you can put them in.
I have one of those.
You have one of those?
Yeah.
That seems, to me, I'm going to be honest, that seems like a waste of money when you could just
I know.
get
I bought it on Black Friday. And it seemed really cool.
When I worked retail, we sold those, and I remember I would use it at the time when
I got it from Casetify, and then
Casetify.
And it was Black Friday, so it was pretty cheap.
Yeah.
But then I use it, but I don't love it because then your phone's still smeary.
Yeah.
Then I have makeup, and that gets on there when you talk on the phone and stuff too, and so that's just so I'd rather wipe it.
For me, it's more about the idea of clean than being clean. That's just me analyzing myself, like a little psychoanalysis.
That's interesting.
Like if what I had was just a lens wipe without any alcohol like in it, but it made it look clean, for me, it's like, oh, it's clean. Cool. Like I feel better. I'm just saying that, right? I mean, I'm just saying that's kind of how it is for me.
Okay.
What is your number 2?
My number 2.
Favorite thing to do with them all?
Yeah, thanks for the reminder.
Just had to remind you.
Of the
you
topic.
looked clueless for a moment.
No, I was just thinking, because on my list, I wrote it out as eat cookies, pretzels.
Eat cookies, pretzels.
That's what's on my list. So I was thinking about how to word it. So I don't really want to say the food court because I didn't love like the food court. Like it always was so busy. There were so many people. I sound like a real germaphobe, I guess, but the tables were always dirty and gross because people would sit down and eat and leave crumbs and sticky crap on the tables and all that. But I love the pretzel place, Auntie Anne's. I love the pretzel place.
Hey, we talked about that earlier.
Uh-huh. And that's why I didn't have too much to say about it because it's on my list. And then I love that cookie place. Was it called the All-American Cookie something?
The All-American Cookie Place.
You know, I mean, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't know what I'm talking about? Oh my gosh, it was so yummy. And they had like cookie sandwiches. And I always liked the sugar cookie. And they had like rainbow. It was like the sugar sprinkles. So they were kind of clear. And there was like pink and blue and maybe orange in there too. And it was on this cookie. And the cookie ended up being like this big. So pretty big.
Ooh.
And it was so good. And I didn't love the edges, so I always ate those first. I always broke them off and ate the edges first, and then I saved the middle because it was the yummiest part, and I ate that last.
You had a whole system?
Yeah.
That sounds really good. When we did cookies, we usually did insomnia cookie, which there's one here too.
Yeah, but I only had that for the first time the end of last year, I think.
Did you like it?
It was fine.
What did you get?
A cookie?
Oh, you didn't get it with the ice cream?
No.
They do cookie ice cream sandwiches.
Oh, is that what you're supposed to get?
Fresh, warm cookie.
Well, I got it to
ice
go
cream
too, so I got it to go. I just got cookies to go. So
fresh, hot cookie. Ice cream
Uh-huh.
scoop of any kind you want, and then on top of it again is another cookie, and it melts over the ice cream. It's so good.
Okay, well, I haven't really truly experienced it then.
No, you haven't. Where'd you do that at?
It was after that SWE pottery class.
Okay.
There's insomnia cookie close to it, so we walked and got some. But I just got some to go. They were fine.
You got to eat it fresh. Because think about that, like a hot cookie with cold ice cream. Oh, it's so good. Anyway, that was your number 2, right?
Yeah, eating.
Eating.
Yeah, eating the cookies.
Well, before we go to
pretzels.
Before we go to our number 1s, I thought we could talk
Hold on. I wanted to done. I wanted to ask you a question about your pretzels.
Everybody who's listening, I can guarantee you're going to be with me on this. It sounded like Steph was done.
Okay, and you know why? Because I was. And then I thought of something else.
Well, I take it back. Nobody grab your pitchforks. We're fine. Steph admitted that she was done.
I thought of something else when you were talking. I want to know, when you had your pretzels that you like to eat, I always liked the pretzels and I liked it with a lot of salt on it. There was white salt, not the clear salt, but the white salt. That was extra salty.
Yeah.
And then dipped it in mustard. Is that how you ate your pretzels?
No, because mustard is...
You don't like mustard.
Not
so
a big
how
mustard
did you
guy.
eat your pretzels?
I usually just did you're going to take a guess. I did nothing because I'm Alex Duquette and I don't like to dip anything in anything. Or sometimes I would do the cinnamon ones.
The cinnamon ones were good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I would do cheese, nacho cheese sometimes.
You would.
But a lot of times I'd either eat it plain or I would do the cinnamon. Yeah.
The mustard. I know you don't like mustard, but that was yummy with that salt.
I like honey mustard.
Well.
Like, that's okay.
Yeah, well, that's not what you put on the pretzel, so.
All right.
Okay.
Now, may I go?
I'm done.
Let's talk a little bit more, before we get to our ones, about Victor Gruen again. Remember Victor Gruen?
Yep.
Mr. Gruen, we talked about him earlier.
Yep, you left us on a cliffhanger.
So where we left off, basically, we talked about his success in the design, the architectural design of malls. And we touched on a little bit about his vision.
What did we touch a little bit of?
Nothing. We touched a little bit of Victor Gruen. We touched him a little bit, and he touched us. Like in our hearts, you know.
Okay.
Anyway, so as we already kind of started to talk about his idea for the design of these malls, the vision, the purpose of these malls was to be more than just to be a shopping center. It was to be a meeting place, as opposed to what a lot of us probably would have thought if you were to, you know, just think, how did malls start? So this explains a little bit better what his vision really was. So his real vision was for a dense, mixed-use, pedestrian-based urban center with residential apartments, schools, medical centers, outdoor parks, and office buildings. So a much grander thing than just a shopping center, right?
Oh, so his vision was bigger than that.
His vision, right. But his vision, even like at the get-go, I just didn't want to get into it a lot, but yeah, it was to be very... just expansive in what was there and for a lot of different people to go to. It was like a part of city life, not just a suburban shopping area, right? That was kind of his idea. Now, this is kind of where we get into the sad irony of his success. So, obviously, malls took off, right? Malls blew up. They got huge. They didn't do that.
Yeah.
Right. Malls began popping up all over suburban parts of America. And nobody really followed that vision. Instead of surrounding the shopping centers with high-density, mixed-use developments, most malls were surrounded with parking lots, trash cans, right? They were close to highways.
Yeah.
All just to maximize profit, people going in there buying stuff and leaving. Because he's just one designer, right? He might have been the guy who kind of founded that idea, but he's not a developer, right? There's developers across the country.
Yeah, he's not the one that owned the land and got to pick where to put it.
Well, what I'm saying too, yes, but what I'm saying too, though, is that he did design 50 more malls, which were designed in a better layout. But yeah, but also locations surrounding it too. You can only have so much say over that, depending on how much property that you have. And property that you're dealing with. So this is kind of where the irony comes into play. Malls continue to expand and grow. Their design integrity kind of began to take a back seat, and it was once again just they were just set up to be as easily accessible to the public to shop and then leave, right? So the integrity began to take a back seat. Gruen is quoted as calling malls. This is near the end of his life. This is in 1978. He died in 1980. He didn't like the direction malls were going because they weren't really following that vision. They were just becoming these suburban, profit-maximizing buildings.
Yeah.
Right? And he started to call malls, his own creation, gigantic shopping machines. And in a 1978 speech in public, he said, "I refuse to pay alimony for those bastard developments." So the idea being, you know, he died 2 years later, and he basically died being unhappy with the direction that his practical
Aw,
invention
that's sad.
took off to do, right?
That's kind of sad.
The true irony of this all is shoot forward to today. Dead malls are popping up all over the place, right? Malls are not as successful as they used to be. Dead malls and shopping centers are now being converted into what he originally envisioned.
Yeah.
So a lot of malls that were failing now have medical centers. They have dentist offices.
Like Crosstown.
They exactly in our town in Memphis they have one, right?
Yeah.
It used to be because it was a Sears
Yeah.
shopping place or something.
I don't know.
Something
I think
like that.
so.
And now it is just apartments. It is exactly what he was envisioning almost
It was
70
just
years ago.
The culture wasn't what it needed to be.
He was kind of ahead of his time.
Yeah.
So he didn't get to live to see that.
Aw.
But I thought that was an interesting story to share. The guy who invented the modern mall as we know it grew to disown the concept of what malls became before he died, just to shoot forward another 40 years. And now
we're doing it.
And now we're slowly converting a lot of dead malls into what he was wanting them to be to begin with. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I thought that was fun to share.
That is a good story. That is good information. I never knew that.
That's something to share. I think, honestly, for me, the biggest takeaway was that I had no idea that the original intent was for it to be what we always did it as, which was a social place. I always thought it was supposed to just be, even from him, the guy who created it, shopping exclusively, right? Like, this is what it's for.
I don't think I ever thought that deeply into it.
No, but I'm saying, like, if I were, I think, and neither did I, but I thought if I were just to guess, I bet you malls were just invented. Like, let's put all the places people shop in one. Simple as that.
Yeah.
But instead it's, let's make a place where pedestrians can go to hang out, relax, have a good time, loiter around, and shop. It just, I don't know. I just think it's interesting.
It is. Yeah, that's good information.
My number one favorite thing to do at the mall, as we wrap up here, is to people watch.
Oh.
I don't do this often, but I know I've done this with you before, and you've played, I think, once with me, but I wish you'd play more with me, which is where I'd go, what's their story?
I love playing that with you. You only asked me that once then. Anytime you ask me, I don't refuse to answer that question.
Look at her get so defensive.
Well, acting like, I wish you would do this more. Why don't you ask me more?
Okay, fine.
Okay. I'll answer you.
See our
more.
neighbor? The window's open. What's their story? People watching. It's something I've never realized that I do it, but I do it. And it's fascinating to me watching how people work. And I know, like, people watching can kind of sound kind of creepy in a way, but it's really more of a... It's almost like you can really paint... I like just painting this whole picture of their life, and I may never say a word to them ever.
Because you're creative and you have an imagination. You like that. And
I do like to think about every person in this room. And in a mall, there could be hundreds, if not thousands, depending on the size of the mall.
Yeah.
Every person has their own story.
Yeah.
And I just like to kind of guess what they are. And I also like seeing how people react to the people they're with. Because you can learn a lot about people through their body language.
Yeah.
I can tell if the husband is mad at his wife by, if his arms are crossed and they're talking or whatever. Or, just little things like that. You could kind of really clue in on that stuff. And I would do that when I was in the food court. I would sit there and eat. And if I were on my lunch break by myself,
you would watch?
I would just kind of look around. I wouldn't pull my phone out. I'd just be kind of looking at people and just seeing what they're doing. As time goes on, there's less and less interesting things to look at because everybody else in the food court is just looking at their phones now.
Yeah.
So it's not quite as interesting as it used to be. But yeah, people watching. I'd say that's my...
I didn't know that would be your number one.
I just had a completely random memory, but I'll use it as a... this could be considered people watching. I'll bring it up.
Just to tell it.
Mall walkers. Mall walkers. Do you know what those are?
People that get their exercise walking around the mall?
Yes. So when I worked out of the mall, I'd get there early in the morning before the mall opened, and they would... The stores would get there an hour before the mall opened. But the mall would be open already, Just nothing would be open. So, like, say the mall opens at 9 a.m. Doors would open at 8, but nothing's open till 9.
You could get,
So that gives the mall walkers time to do their walking. And so, like, I would always, like, I'd get used to seeing the same people walk around, like, my store every single morning.
Oh, my gosh.
And they, at the time I knew them, a couple of them by name. I don't remember them now, but hey, how's it going, Carol?
Oh, my gosh. That's funny.
But anyway, I guess that's kind of people watching, too. But
yeah, it is.
What's your number one, Steph?
My number one is the carousel.
Okay.
Let's see. You called it the merry-go-round. I call it the carousel.
I think the carousel.
But.
Yeah, I mean, are they both right?
Yeah,
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think they're both right. I think they're both right. Just different ways to say it.
Because merry-go-rounds can also be very small. Like, they can be smaller. Like, you can see them on a playground or something.
But they can be that, though, too. They can be. But I don't think carousels are small.
No.
So there's some overlap there.
Right.
But that was my favorite thing to do at the mall. When I was little, too, I'd be so excited to go to the mall just to ride the carousel. Because I wouldn't care about shopping. I was this little. But I would get on the biggest horse, and my mom would be like, she'd have to like hold me on it because she'd be so afraid I was going to fall off.
Right.
But
I was going to ask if you had a favorite animal, but I guess it was the big horse.
Yeah, it was the horse, the biggest horse. I think it was white, and it had stones. The one at our mall they have stones like on the band that goes across like their reins and stuff, and they have little stones, and they have flowers and stuff.
Aww.
So I'd sit on the prettiest one. It was big. I think it was white, and it would go super high, and I would look up. I'd like to look up, hold on to that pole and look up because you could see, the little metal piece. And you know what? Oh my gosh, I just thought about this. When I was little, I remember looking up and being like, I wonder how this works. And trying to think about how it worked and how it went up and around and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's childhood wonder.
It's the engineering, I guess, side of me I didn't know.
Yeah, I see what you're trying to say. Yeah, I guess a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, well, like, how does it work? I mean, I'm, 8 years old, 7 years old, and I'm like, how does that work?
Yeah.
Like, who cares? But I wanted to know. So, anyway, but it was so much fun. That was one of my favorite things to do. I'd want to ride it a million times.
Well, that's a sweet memory.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time when you got on there and there was, like, a kid who was on the big horse?
Yeah.
And you were mad about it?
Yeah. But I just picked another pretty horse.
And in your head, you're like, okay, this one is the best horse today.
Yeah. That's fine. It was fine.
As you were silently cursing the
I just picked a different horse. I probably rode it until they got off, and then I went to that horse.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
I cannot believe this, Steph. We clocked in at just about an hour.
Yeah. Talking about what to do at the mall.
We did it.
Yeah,
we can talk about anything for an hour.
I know we can.
Or longer sometimes.
Yeah.
There was one episode we did recently where we're like, I don't know if we're going to be able to get to an hour on
It was
this.
like an hour and a half or something.
And it ended up being way long.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was a ton of fun. Let us know what your favorite things to do, what your favorite things are to do at the mall, or were to do at the mall if you don't go anymore. Anywhere you're listening. So you could be watching on YouTube. So leave us a comment there. Also subscribe on YouTube while you're there. You can also follow us at the 2Ps Pod on Instagram and Twitter. We also have a Facebook. Go check us out there. We post a lot of shorts, a few a week, so you can kind of get little laughs throughout the week, right? Just little flashbacks to old episodes and stuff. So check us out in all those places as well. We also give our announcements there too. And those are going to be the best places for you can continue the conversation with us and let us know what you think about our topics and to give us new topics because we always give you a shout out.
Yes, please.
For now, though, well, actually, right before we go that, I do also want to say this.
I was breathing in. Ready.
I know she was ready. She was ready to pick the next random topic, but not yet because I also want to say, if you are listening on other platforms, be sure to do the things there too. So if you're on Spotify, engage with us there. Give us a 5-star rating. That actually goes a long way. Really, it does. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave a rating or a review. That would mean a ton as well. Just wanted to throw that out there as well. So anyway, now it is time for our topic. Randomly picked. Are you ready, Steph?
Yeah.
Give me the drums. That was horrible.
Why did you know it wasn't? It wasn't horrible.
I think it was the mic. Do it one more time. Top 5 schoolyard memories.
Ooh. Yeah, that's interesting.
Memories from the schoolyard, recess, other things.
Schoolyard.
Schoolyard. There, schoolyard. I'm Steph. Schoolyard.
Schoolyard, not schoolyard.
Schoolyard. I'm just talking. Let me talk. You know what's funny? Steph is from the South, and sometimes she has a Southern accent, and I do not.
Yes, you do. Every time I say you just said ah.
That's true. Yeah, you do say you don't say I.
And you say that. You point it out to me every time I say it.
It's fine. Never mind. I guess we're just from different regions. It's what happens. Anyway, top 5 schoolyard memories. This should be a fun one. That's all for now. Steph, why don't you give us a little ditty as we sign off here?
I'm sorry. I don't know what that is.
Well, I guess that's it. So let's see.
What is a little ditty?
Like a song, like a little song. Like a little goodbye song.
Give it a song.
She's so embarrassed.
I'm not. Well, why don't you give a little ditty? What?
What's a little ditty? What, you asked me to piddle on the floor? What's happening here?
I don't understand what that means.
Why don't you just sign us off here, Steph?
Thank you so much for listening, and we're so excited to talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.